Ainara, the enemy's bride. Prologue. The banners of Al-Zephyria snapped in the mountain wind, streaks of deep violet stitched with the emblem of the white flame. From the ridge, Emir Kahim watched the valley below. His bulk filled the saddle of a black warhorse, his robes of indigo and silver gleaming in the dim light. Scars of age traced the lines of his face, yet his eyes were still sharp, calculating and unyielding. Below him stretched Janara, a settlement that was more forest than village. Clusters of timber cottages huddled beneath towering cypress and cedar trees, their roofs heavy with moss and clay tiles. Beyond, neat fields of saffron, dates and herbs spread in careful rows, stitched together by irrigation canals that glittered in the sun. The air smelled of earth and wild mint. Voices drifted from the marketplace where farmers bartered baskets of figs and healers displayed jars of oils and powders. It was a place of life, humble but thriving. Its wealth came not from gold or armies, but from soil and wisdom, herbalists, alchemists, and farmers who fed half the central region. To Kahim, the sight was an insult. Such a simple village had sheltered his blood for too long. He turned to the scarred man beside him, his most trusted blade. The soldier bowed his head, one hand brushing the jagged line that crossed from his brow to the bridge of his nose. "Bring me the girl," Kahim said, voice steady as stone. "No delays. No mistakes." The man grunted in acknowledgement and spurred his horse forward, leading a column of riders down the slope. The thunder of hooves soon drowned the peace of the valley. The riders had not reached Janara yet. The village still breathed in its quiet rhythm, oblivious to the storm that would soon descend. Children darted between stalls with sticky figs in their hands. Merchants called out prices for their herbs and spices, and the earthy smell of freshly turned soil mixed with the sweetness of ripened dates. Inside the herb shop, laughter spilled between the shelves. Nasira leaned against the counter, her sandy brown hair falling into sparkling blue eyes as she tugged playfully at the sleeves of her tunic. Though only 16, she already carried the hourglass shape that hinted at the woman she would become, slim from days spent running through fields and climbing trees. Bronze from the sun and stubborn about it, she chose comfort over pretense, loose trousers tucked into worn sandals and a simple blouse edged with a band of soft blue thread, her favorite color. Ali stood opposite her, leaning lazily against shelves of jars filled with dried leaves and powders, his olive-toned skin warm in the window's light. A few years her senior, newly married, and already admired as one of the village's most promising young men, he carried himself with an unshaken ease she'd grown up around. His dark hair brushed his brow. His steady green eyes made more than a few girls in Janara sigh when he passed. He groaned, running a hand down his face, though the laughter behind it betrayed him. "One day, you're going to make me regret ever teaching you how to talk back." Nasira leaned closer, her grin refusing to fade. "One day? Please." "That day already came and went, husband of the year." Ali chuckled, shaking his head. "You've been impossible since you learned how to string a sentence together. Lena should count herself lucky you spend most of that mouth on me instead of her." From the back of the shop, a warm laugh rose. Yara, Nasira's adoptive mother, petite and fine-boned, hair streaked in silver, shook her head while arranging bundles of thyme. Despite her slight frame, There is a quiet strength in the way she moved, her nimble hands quick and practiced. "The two of you are louder than the market goats," she teased, her voice carrying the melody of years of kindness. Beside her, Nabil, her adoptive father, road-shouldered though soft in the belly. Beard peppered with grey, gave an approving grunt as he pounded dried roots into powder. His eyes sparkled with humour. "Loud, maybe. But it's good to hear this shop full of life. Makes the medicine sweeter." "Don't tell me, Ali. Are you here to buy herbs, or just to drive me deaf with your chatter?" The small space brimmed with warmth, laughter, the rich aroma of herbs, sunlight slanting through shutters. For a heartbeat, it felt as if the world outside could never intrude. Then the door slammed open. A villager stumbled inside, breath ragged, face chalk white. "The white flame!" he gasped, pointing toward the hills. "Al-Zafiria's riders. They're here. Run. Run while you can." Yara dropped the bundle in her hands, her slender shoulders stiffening, color draining. Nabil froze mid-laugh, pestle slipping from his grasp and striking the counter with a hollow thud. Nasira's smile faltered. The words struck something deep inside her, as if her very blood recoiled at the name. The white flame, her father's sigil, the purple banners cut with a burning white flame she'd only heard in whispers. Ali was already moving, his green eyes flashing with a sharpness that replaced his easy calm. He strode to the doorway, pulling his curved shamshir from the leather sheath at his side. His owl, perched in the rafters, let out a piercing cry, wings beating in agitation. Outside, plumes of dust curled upward, the thunder of hooves breaking against the earth. Purple banners crested the hills like a tide of fire, sunlight glinting off metal helms and blades of men who brought not justice, but ruin. Villages scattered, mothers clutched children, old men hobbled toward the woods. Ali's grip tightened on his sword. "Stay with your parents," he ordered, voice low, every word trembling with restrained urgency. "Whatever happens, don't follow me." But even as he said it, Nasira knew she couldn't obey. The village square was breaking under fire and steel. Riders slashed through stalls, blades catching grain sacks and spilling their contents like blood onto the dirt. Others cut down townsfolk who tried to flee, voices harsh as they bellowed above the panic. "Where is the blue-eyed girl?" "The girl with the blue eyes! Find her!" Ali's heart lurched at the words, but his mind spun. Blue eyes? Why would they? He sprinted toward his family's home, a single thought pounding in his chest. My parents, my wife. Riders surged past like a black tide, hooves churning the ground. One slashed down at him in passing. Ali twisted, the blade taking only air. His shamshir snapped up in reflex, nearly catching the rider's leg before the man thundered past. He wheeled around, breath sharp. The stream of riders veered not toward his house, not fanning through the far streets, but toward the herbalist's shop. A cold clarity washed through him. His parents, his wife, his new place as head of the family. Every instinct screamed to run the other way. But Yara and Nabil were in that shop. Nasira was in that shop. Ali's decision wasn't a decision at all. He turned and bolted. His owl shrieked overhead, echoing his alarm. The shop door buckled beneath a rider's boot and exploded inward. "Where's the blue-eyed girl?" he bellowed, swinging his sword across the counter and sending herbs flying like sparks. Another shoved in behind him, overturning baskets and scattering jars. Nabil stumbled back, wide-eyed, while Yara clutched at her chest. Ali hit the doorway like a storm. "Get away from them!" The rider spun, just as his shamshir flashed bright and merciless, cutting through the air. 15 seconds before the door crashed open, the air inside the shop had still clung to its fragile calm. Nasira's legs had tensed the moment Ali stormed out. Every part of her wanted to follow, to throw herself into the chaos alongside him. She took a step. Strong arms caught her. Her father, usually all laughter and jokes, swept her into an iron embrace and shoved her beneath the counter, his broad frame shielding her from view. "Stay here. Do not move," he hissed, and the tone. It so unlike his usual warmth froze her in place. From the shadows, she peeked upward. Floorboards shook with boots. Harsh voices barked. "Where's the girl with the blue eyes?" Ali fought like a man possessed. His shamshir flashed like quicksilver in the smoke. He cut down the first soldier cleanly, stance grounded, green eyes sharp. The owl dove to rake at another rider's face, buying him a heartbeat to strike again. For a moment, it looked as though he might hold them back. His blade moving with both practice and fury, voice raw as he shouted for villagers to flee. Then the commander appeared. Broader than the rest, a scar carving from brow to nose, his grin held nothing of humor. He met Ali's strike with a lazy parry and shoved him back as if he were a child. "You fight like a boy protecting toys," he sneered, making the insult land alongside the blows. Steel clashed, sparks hissed. Ali tried with everything in him, but the man was relentless. A knee slammed into his stomach. A gauntleted fist cracked his cheek. Then the flat of the blade sent him sprawling. Inside, Yara screamed. Nabil was already moving, axe clenched in both hands. He shoved himself between the door and his wife, belly heaving with effort, sweat beading on his brow. "Come on, then," he barked, a flash of grim humor even as fear clawed at him. "You'll find I've got more fat than you can cut through in a day." The first soldier underestimated him. Nabil swung low and fast, chopping into the man's thigh and sending him down howling. Another slammed into his side. Blows rained across his shoulders, arms, back. Yara, slight as she was, refused to stay still. She hurled jars and vials, lavender and smoke exploding in the air. "Get out of my shop!" she cried. Rage couldn't stop steel. The commander's men broke through, striking her down and kicking away the remnants of her thrown jars. Hidden beneath the counter, Nasira trembled. She peeked through the gap, blue eyes wide, watching Ali crumple, her mother shoved to the ground, her father bent beneath heavy fists. Her blood burned hot. Breath went shallow. Her chest tightened, as if the world pressed down on her. "No." The word ripped from her throat, rising to a scream. "No." The air cracked. A blinding surge burst from her, blue and radiant, not fire, not lightning, something between, something other. It lanced through the shop in a resonant, iridescent wave. Jars shattered, beams rattled. Soldiers staggered back, hands to ears as the sound reverberated, shaking their bones. Ali stirred faintly, lips shaping her name before his head slumped into unconsciousness. Nabil, bleeding but alive, blinked up at the glow. He had seen this before years ago, when Kahim returned from a journey with a strange woman at his side. That same impossible light, that same power. His heart sank. By the flame. She is her mother's child. Outside, riders stilled as blue shimmer flared through the shop's cracks. The banner, the white flame on violet cloth. It rippled in smoke-stained wind as hoofbeats drew near. The emir had come. Kahim rode at the head of his men, his black warhorse gleaming despite the ash. His presence bent the air. Robes of purple and black seemed untouched by dust. The gemmed circlet on his brow caught the dying light. His face, lined but commanding, bore eyes that burned like obsidian embers. He carried no weapon. He needed none. The commander dragged Nasira from the wreckage. Soldiers swarmed to bind her wrists as she thrashed with desperate strength. Her knees hit the dirt outside the shop, fires painting her hair in copper and gold. Her chest heaved, her eyes blazed. Her power ebbed fast. Kahim looked down, appraising her like a jewel. "Do you know who I am?" His voice was deep, smooth, dangerous. She spat at the ground, still panting. "I know enough. You're the monster who did this." A faint crease of displeasure touched his mouth. "I am your father, and whether you will it or not, you are mine." Nasira screamed again. Another burst tore into the earth at his horse's hooves. It sputtered, weak and broken, leaving her gasping on her knees. "Enough!" Kahim lifted a hand. The soldiers tightened their grip. "If you resist, the butcher's blade will find your parents and your friend. Choose, chains or their graves." Her gaze snapped back to the shop. Yara crawled to Nabil, sobbing, clutching his hand as blood seeped through his tunic. His smile was faint, yet warm, as if trying to make a joke while life bled out. Ali, crumpled by the doorway, stirred weakly. A gash across his face, chest rising shallow but steady. Her heart cracked. She forced herself up, dragging against the soldier's hold. "Let me say goodbye." Kahim's eyes narrowed, but he allowed it. Nasira stumbled inside, blue glow faintly trailing her skin. She knelt by her father, pressing trembling hands to his wound. Power seeped out, closing the gash, knitting flesh. His eyes fluttered open. "You stubborn girl." She smiled through tears. "Thank you for being my father." To her mother, a whisper. "I love you." Yara clung to her, pleading. Don't go, they'll take you." But Nasira was already moving, brushing Ali's face, letting the last of her strength pour into his broken body. His eyes opened a fraction, unfocused but alive. "Nasira," he breathed, regret heavy in his voice. She pressed her forehead to his. "Be strong. Protect them. Please." Then she rose, swaying, every step a fight against the weight crushing her. She walked toward Kahim, chin lifted, though tears streaked her face, wrists bound once more. Behind her, the village burned. Ahead of her, the future loomed like a storm. And when she finally collapsed into darkness, the last thing she heard was her mother's scream and her father's voice breaking on her name.